Welcome to Inside the Queue. I am Ryan Dolly, and I am here with Braden McLean and the broken, very, very broken Tom. Tom, what'd you do, man?
I had a disagreement with the pavement.
We are here at the Titusville Mill. We're going to talk about our Pithole episode, which I was not here for, so I have questions.
Far away.
It was a long time ago. I probably have some questions.
It was over a year ago. So why Pithole?
Yeah, I mean, Pithole was one of the first episodes that went up on the board. We had a massive wall full of all the different episode concepts, and Pithole stood out to me. That was an episode that I definitely wanted to sort of spearhead because it's such an intriguing part of Pennsylvania's history. I've known certain things about this region for close to a decade. I'd never heard of it.
No?
I had no idea. So to get into the weeds on it was just a really fascinating experience.
Braden, what are your thoughts on Pithole?
It was unique because growing up in Warren County, like right above everything down here, it's been played up as it's this ghost town that you can go down to, when in reality, you're walking around just a bunch of holes in the ground of where all the foundations of the buildings used to be. And it's like, yeah, it's a ghost town, I suppose, but it's more just a archaeological site at this point, if anything. It lasted for, about 500 days was the boom of it. So this show has been going on for longer than Pithole was a thing.
Yes,
That's crazy to think about.
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
We did some different things in this episode. We did the green screen. We had Victor, our actor. Tell us a little bit about the creative process.
We knew going into it that all of this happens really before the age of photography. And so that's always difficult. How do you communicate things and translate them onto screen in a way that's going to be captivating for an audience to watch? And thankfully, Sue, who was the senior curator at the Drakewell Museum, was absolutely just extraordinary on camera, and really holds the episode in terms of laying out the chronological narrative of it all. But we knew that we couldn't just stay with her in the episode, as great as she is. So we went to Victor, who we've known for a while. He's a local actor. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we can create a narrative through him and turn him into this character who was there at the time. But again, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So what we were able to do was take what photography images were available to us, to take those and then try and bring them to life a bit more by putting Victor in front of a green screen, and then compositing him in with the people that lived in Pithole at the time.
I was there for when he was in the bar, and you were just
right.
telling him, hey, just cheers to this guy.
Drinking a lot of the whiskey because it was safer than drinking the water.
Yes. I feel like I could have done well back then, because for a long time I did think whiskey was safer than drinking water.
It's also cheaper than drinking water, too.
Right? So how many days did you guys spend out here?
We came down here for a day of filming, and then we followed up with just a day of B-roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so from start to finish, I think we put this episode together in 3 weeks. Composite Victor into all these other obscure shots that we found.
Who was on the crew at that time? Because back then it was...
No one.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Mike, myself, Braden, Vlad, or Ivan, or Pepe, or Ivanden.
Ivanden.
Kenna, and then at that point in time we had another filmmaker, Jesse, with us.
What was your favorite part of filming this episode?
I think my favorite part of filming this episode was doing a lot of the drone photography, because the amount of material that is still here and readily available to be seen by the public is just so vast. It's like I was saying, like the archaeological site of Pithole, you can send the drone up over top, and as you're looking down, you see the exact areas that all these houses were. It's funny because we're literally standing on top of half of them, and you can't see the actual foundation squares that are still just laid under the earth until you're 300-400 feet up in the air looking down and seeing the entire layout of the city that's still here. Not to mention the oil wells over at the museum or any of the railroad lines or anything like that.
Did you guys have any other resources available to you?
Sue at the Drakewell Museum, who unfortunately for the public has now retired. When you have such a commanding voice,
Yeah.
it's hard for anyone else to step in and nothing against the other interview subjects. But it's like when, if you're playing a sport, when someone is just operating at that level, it's hard to have anyone else come in and sort of, match them.
Yeah, 'cause I know that I remember there was a conversation after we got done interviewing Sue back at the office. We're like, all right, well, do we need to find anybody else? And we're all kind of sitting around like, don't really know. Like, it would be good to get a couple more voices in, but she kind of cracked it out of the park.
Yeah.
One of the problems that we routinely run into is that we only have a finite amount of time for each episode, and there's only so much we can cover, because a lot of the really interesting stories require so much setup that there just isn't time to get in them. But one of the great stories was of the 3 churches that existed, and they're all quite lucrative because there is, in fairness, a lot of bad behavior in Pithole, and so they would sort of try and make themselves feel better by then going to the churches and asking for salvation. But one of the ministers just goes, this is a lot of money that people keep donating to the church, and decides just to take it and run. And then another minister,
Smart man.
another minister who, whilst he is grateful to have the donations coming in to try and absolve the community of a guilty conscience, and so he tries to find a way to try and offset all the underhand goings on. So there's this amazing story of this minister strapping up, kicking down the door of a brothel, guns out,
Guns ablazing.
he believes that the women there are being held against their will, so he goes to rescue them. But the whole thing is just a movie waiting to be made.
Let's make it.
I have a screenplay already halfway there.
We'll get Victor. We're all set.
Within the episode, what was the most startling or most insightful, sort of interesting aspect of the history of Pithole for you?
For me, it was like we talked about, like it was just 500 days.
Yeah.
And like that's mind blowing to me that all of that happened in 500 days, and then this town just went away. It was gone.
We can't even get city planners to agree to a stop sign in 500 days.
Yeah.
They built an entire city and lost it.
Yeah, in 500 days.
And that whole time they were waiting for that one stop sign variance to go up.
Well, the other thing is
The only thing left. The stop sign.
the one thing that we don't explore in the episode, and we didn't even really discuss it in the office, but these people all flock to the region, which sort of begs the question of what were they doing before? The freedom with which people were able to just put down whatever they were doing in that moment and descend upon this other part that they didn't live in.
Yeah.
It's not like all these people were coming from just over the hill. They were traveling far and wide. But what was it that they sacrificed doing, and what was the impact to those communities to have all these people go, yep, all right,
I'm getting into oil.
I'm gonna go and rub some Vaseline into my knees and elbows. What's that? You'll find out. Yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Tell you later.
The Bitcoin of the 1800s.
That's awesome. All right, well, thanks for joining me today, guys. Appreciate the talk. We're going to be back for some more Inside the Queue very soon, so come back, check it out.
And remember, if you've used a petroleum product today, thank your local Drake.
Okay.
All right.